and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Salaam Alaikum. Mr. Moderator, our distinguished guests, brothers and sisters, our friends and our enemies.
Bismillah wa salatu wa salam wa rasulullah wa ba'd. In the name of Allah, and the peace and blessings of Allah be upon his last and final messenger. Family, friends, foes, haters, and hateettes, welcome back to the Feachaz. I greet you all in peace and love and no hatred in my heart. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. But before we begin, please like, please subscribe, and please share. As you know, we got a lot of haters up in here. So family, tonight's the first night of Ramadan, alhamdulillah. And as I usually do every Ramadan, I kind of turn off my social media, right? So I went to go turn off my Facebook. And then I saw this story, like almost as soon as I went to my Facebook, because Facebook's off my phone now, right? But essentially what it was saying was that Shaun King became Muslim. And you know me with these stories, I kind of like wait. I don't want to be the first one just in case it ends up being capped. I don't want to be the first one to come and jump in on. I like to wait, especially on these conversion stories, right? But this one, I went, of course, I tried to find, the clips or anything like that. I couldn't find anything. However, since it was mentioned by Mark Lamont Hill, I was like, there might be some merit to this because Mark Lamont Hill, for those of you guys who don't know, he is a black commentator, former CNN, I believe, commentator. And both Shaun King and Mark Lamont Hill have done amazing work for many, many, many years on the Palestine situation. For donkey years, they've been talking about Palestine. Okay. And Mark Lamont Hill was fired from his job. I believe it was CNN. Maybe one of y'all can correct me, but I think it was CNN because he went publicly on that news station that he was fired from and said from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free, whatever he said. They fired him. And ever since then, he's been more on the independent circuit through social media. And Mark Lamont Hill, very educated. Shaun King, and I said it before, that Shaun King, since the whole Palestine situation broke out, he has been doing amazing work on his Instagram, just incredible work on his Instagram for the Palestine situation. So much so that Instagram shut down his Instagram. They closed it down. Even me, myself, okay? I was posting stuff about Palestine, and Instagram demonetized my Instagram for posting things about Palestine. So this stuff is real. Of course, the censorship is real. Y'all got to understand that censorship will be a part of the grassroots life because you are going up against the enemy. You're going up against the foot soldiers of Iblis and stuff. Y'all hearing me? So Brother Jandra, he's saying, yeah, it was CNN. It was CNN's that he was fired from. Okay. So Mark Lamont Hill, for y'all who don't know, used to be a Muslim. He was somebody who, basically became Muslim from the Ansar Allah community. So he's like a technical Muslim. He's not like a real Muslim, okay? You get me? For those of y'all who know who the Ansar Allah is. But nonetheless, he has, an Islamic background, right? And he left Islam, and now he's like a real hardcore liberal, right? So we criticized Mark Lamont Hill here for his liberalism, but that's it, some of the liberal takes that he takes. But of course, we agree with many of the things that he says. in terms of black rights and definitely Palestinian rights, of course, right? Because these guys, again, they put their careers on the line for Palestine. Both of them black, and you can see that if Shaun King has really converted for real, then that right there is something that will be a very big deal because Shaun King is a powerful um, activist, you could say, right? Very powerful, right? Very involved in activism, and I don't know if this is real, but what I do know is that Mark Lamont Hill is commenting on it. So I wanted to share that with you because Mark Lamont Hill, he's live right now as we speak. Okay. So I just wanted to go into the live and see what he's saying from what he's found out. So let's just pull it up here, family. Right? I know it's the first night of Ramadan. I'm not going to keep you all too long. Even me, I was about to go to sleep. Right? So because the way that my habits are is like I like to make my ibadah early in the morning. Right? I don't like to stay up late at night. So I like to pray Isha, go to sleep, wake up early, and then make my ibadah. Right? I never told anybody that, but that's how I do it. Right? So I'm just saying that publicly. Right? But anyways, let's see what Mark Lamont Hills has to say about this. Okay? Let's go, y'all.
Family, it's your brother Mark Lamont Hill. Welcome to the Mark Lamont Hill official YouTube channel. We are here tonight with a breaking news of sorts. I was on the internet minding my own business, and I came.
So first of all, let me know how the sound is. If the sound's all right, I think the sound should be okay. Okay, the sound should be fine. Can y'all hear that? Can y'all hear the sound with Mark Lamont Hill? How's the sound? Number one, if y'all can hear the sound on the live, and number two, if you can't, y'all. All right, so let's get into it. Like, subscribe, share. Everybody share this. Okay, good. We can hear it. Okay, excellent. Okay, let's get into it, y'all.
Came across something that I thought was super interesting. It was an announcement that Shaun King had announced today on the eve of Ramadan that he had converted to Islam. Or he didn't announce it, but it was announced that Shaun King had converted to Islam. And so I found this, to be honest, incredibly fascinating. And I knew that y'all would find it incredibly fascinating. In fact, before I could even get to my computer to verify it, people were sending me links. People sent me links to my dear sister Zahra Belou, who is one of the high-ranking person in CARE, which of course, the Council for American Islamic Relations. She was, I think, there for this event. If she wasn't there, she knows who was there. But Shaun King showed up to the Valley Ranch Islamic Center. The Valley Ranch Islamic Center. And in the Valley Ranch Islamic Center, Shaun King, y'all know him as the activist. Y'all know him as, podcaster, writer, journalist, and Baptist preacher. Shaun King's been a Baptist preacher for a very long time. I first encountered Shaun King at Morehouse College when we were both in Atlanta at the same time. When we were both, I think I was a freshman. I was a sophomore. He was a freshman. But we both were there, and he was down with the church then. He was a dyed-in-the-wool Christian. He was Christian down to the socks. And suddenly, today, we see Shaun at the Islamic Center. I want you to see the evidence here because I don't want you to think that I'm up here just capping or exaggerating or spreading.
Yeah, so that's the same picture that I saw there on Facebook. Maybe some of y'all saw the same picture, right? But if Mark Lamont Hill got contacted by the people in CARE about this, then there's probably some validity to that, right? Because even I was seeing some of the social media moguls kind of like saying the same thing out there in social media land, right? So, but it seems to be true that Mark Lamont Hill converted. So let's keep watching, y'all. Let's see what I saw. Not Mark Lamont Hill, Shaun King, right? So let's see what else he got to say. Let's keep
watching. Gossip or rumor. Here is Shaun King at the Valley Ranch. This just happened maybe an hour ago. This is Shaun King at the Valley Ranch Islamic Center. I'm pulling up something else for y'all too. This is him at the Valley Ranch Islamic Center on the first night, the night before Ramadan, being given his shahada, and that's his wife next to him, Rai King, who's been with him since day one. This is his high school sweetheart. This is his wife. This is the mother of his children. This is his life partner. They both stood there in front of the brother you see with the microphone, Sheikh Omar Suleiman, taking his.
Now, if that is Shaun King's wife, then
brother, there. Excuse me, I just had a little tech glitch.
Then probably definitely because she's looking like a Muslim. I had no clue that was his wife. right? I'm just looking at the picture, you know what I mean? Right. So I had no clue that was his wife whatsoever. Right. So one's in the chat, so if y'all can hear, please, because you know how it is over here. We always getting censored and stuff. So just one's in the chat, please, right? To make sure y'all still out there in YouTube land. Okay, let's keep going, y'all.
Which I hit the wrong button. You see him there taking his shahada. And I'm going to do a couple things at once. I'm going to break down what this thing is that's happening at the same time that we can talk about why we think it might be happening. And if you want to write your comments and thoughts, and I'll be sure to read some of them. Of course, we prioritize members, but everybody here has a voice. Everybody here has a community. So he's taking his shahada. For those who don't know, Muslims take their shahada. They declare what can be called the shahada or even the shahadatain, the two bearings of witness. The first one is to the oneness of God, monotheism, right? Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, wahdahu la sharika lahu. I bear witness that there is no God but Allah. Right? Allah is simply the Arabic name for God. Wahdahu la sharika lahu. You know, He's alone. Allah is alone. Allah has no partners. God is alone. God has no partners. And then the second piece of the shahadatain is ashhadu anna Muhammad abduhu wa rasuluhu. I bear witness abduhu wa rasuluhu, excuse me. And I bear witness that Muhammad is his prophet. Muhammad Rasulullah, right? La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. I bear witness that there's no God but Allah and that Muhammad is his messenger. Now, this is a big deal. You may say, why is this a big deal? Right? He's a Baptist preacher. For a Baptist preacher to stand up and declare the shahadatain, for a Baptist preacher to stand up and declare, this is from the Valley Ridge Islamic Center. This is their photo, not mine. That's their caption, not mine. But you can see the brother here receiving hugs from brothers. You can see people in the background in the Islamic Center. And
so this in the background, that is Sheikh Abdullah Adoro. Right? I don't know if y'all can see him. It's in the right corner, Sheikh Abdullah Adoro. So I think this is real, family. I think this actually happened. Right? Sheikh Abdullah Adoro in the background in the right corner there. Now, you heard Mark Lamont Hill pronounce the Shahadatain and like perfectly. He's pronounced it perfectly. And you know what I'm saying? Because he comes from that Ansar Allah background, right? And we have said before, you know, we mentioned about the Ansar Allah, that the folks in that community, even though that Dwight York or Malachi Z. York is like a cultist and whatnot, the folks in that community, all of them learned Arabic. The men, the women, the children, everybody learned Arabic. Even though the person running it was a cultist. So it is possible for us to do the same thing, especially as Black folk, because the first person to do that in the West, have all the people in the West speaking Arabic, happen to be a Black person. Y'all get me? Right? So it is absolutely possible. That's how he learned Arabic, Mark Lamont Hill. To be honest, Mark Lamont Hill, I don't understand. Well, it's between him and Allah, really. In my opinion, he should have never left Islam, because even those of y'all who hear him speak, he still has that tawheed in him. You get me? He still has that, you know, that type of belief in Islam and that's those type of things. But he never really learned it properly. That's the problem. And he's very educated. And he talks to Muslims all the time. I'm not getting why he just kind of opted out of Islam like that, you know. But it's kind of common for people to when they're involved in these cults or whatnot, they get a bad taste in their mouth about Islam. Yeah, may Allah guide him. I mean, Allah guide him. I mean, you know. So he became this really like hardcore liberal, and the same thing with Shaun. He came really hardcore liberal, but the activism these guys put in and the work that they put in, it cannot not be, you know, underestimated at all, right? They guys put in some incredible work, particularly in the avenue of Palestine. Okay, particularly in that, when the Black Lives Matter protests were happening, you saw these guys everywhere, man. They were putting in work. You got me? So, and we hope that Allah guides them back to Islam. You know, if you look at Dr. Umar Johnson, right? Same thing. He was a Muslim and he opted out of Islam. And he says it publicly. The reason why he opted out of Islam was because there's no representation of Black folk amongst the Muslims. Everybody trying to be an Arab and stuff like that. He just said it like that, right? We talk about that stuff here all the time, right? We talk about that stuff about this identity crisis that Black folk have, right? And this aversion that when you become Muslim, all of a sudden you're not black anymore. You're just Muslim. Like, what? What are you talking about? What are you talking about? How do you stop being black because you're Muslim, man? Like, this is crazy, right? It's nonsense. It's absolute nonsense. You understand? So that's why we out here, we put the importance of, using Islam to better the situation of black people, right? Because we ain't fitting to be a permanent underclass underneath these devils. When you're reading the Quran, right? Allah, He does not support the oppressors. He doesn't support the oppressors. He himself, Allah, doesn't support the oppressors. Allah always supports the believers. But the believers are the ones who have to make efforts to Allah in order to gain Allah's support. And once you start beginning to trust in Allah and, believing in His commands and just being patient with what Allah has sent you in terms of fitna and whatnot, the help of Allah comes. That is the sunnah of Allah. You understand me? So how are you going to become Muslim as a black person? And then all of a sudden, Allah is telling you in the Quran, to use this Quran, use the Sunnah to help yourself, help your people, save yourselves and your families from the fire. And then suddenly you stop becoming yourself and your family. Like, what are you talking about? What are you really talking about? Every prophet was sent to their people. All of them. And they were calling to their people to the truth, calling their people to Islam, calling people to Allah, to the truth. You come to your people and telling your people that you're not allowed to call your people to the truth. You're not allowed to use this religion to help your people come out of all these gutter situations that we're in. It's crazy. So that's why channels like this are important. You get me? And I hope inshallah, that we can have an impact in reaching out to folks like this and calling them to Islam. You notice once again, it's Imam Dr. Umar Suleiman with another Shahada. Dr. Umar Suleiman is heavily involved in dawah. So is Sheikh Abdullah Adura. They are heavily involved in making dawah and calling the people to Allah and converting people to Islam and whatnot. All the time, these guys are getting shahadas all the time. And yet, you have certain folks on YouTube who never get shahadas ever, like never, okay? Don't have a single shahada to the name, but want to criticize these folks. And it's okay to criticize them on their liberal stances, but there are certain things that can be taken way too far. Like way, way, way too far, way out of pocket. Y'all hearing me? But I digress, right? You heard, again, Mark Lamont Hill perfectly pronounced the Shahada. And even when you hear him speak, just hearing him speak in general, he has a high moral compass. A very high moral compass, okay? So we ask Allah to, to guide the people, and keep us guided as well. I mean, especially now in 2024, we are living in some very serious times, incredibly serious times. So we hope Allah aids us and helps us and keep us on a straight path. I mean, let's keep watching, y'all.
And they are congratulating him, and presumably the sisters are in the other side, congratulating his wife on joining Islam. As a preacher, as someone who has believed in Christianity and in the belief system of Christianity and the faith of Christianity, for him to then convert to Islam or revert to Islam, and I'll talk about what that means. It means that he has now said, I no longer believe in Jesus as God or as the Son of God. I no longer believe in the Trinity, right? Much of what Islam, one of the fundamental distinctions, let me say it differently, one of the fundamental distinctions between Islam and Christianity is not the belief in a singular God per se, right? Christians call God Allah as well in Arabic. But the distinction is this distinction of saying one rather than three, or three rather than one. It's a belief on whether or not there was a crucifixion and a resurrection. As a Christian, your fundamental faith, that the thing that makes a Christian rests on this question of soteriology, right? What's your salvation? What do you believe? And for Christians, that pathway is Jesus, and it's the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost, the Trinity for most Christians. Not all, but most. Some are Trinitarian. But for Muslims, that's different. So Shaun King saying, I now believe that Jesus, or Isa Maryam, Isa is not God, but rather a prophet. just like Moses, just like Abraham, just like Adam, just like Noah, just like Ismail, just like Ishaq, Isaac, just like Yahya, John, just like all. Just like, I believe that rather than this is a huge deal. He wasn't just a Christian; he was a pastor. Shaun King now believes something different.
See, this is a little bit surreal when I'm listening to Mark Lamont Hill speak because he's making dawah, but he's not even a Muslim. You see what I'm saying? He's making dawah and he's not Muslim. Like, I don't like even, and this kind of befuddles me every single time I listen to him. Right? I'm like, why did you leave Islam, Mark Lamont Hill? It's not making any sense to me. He's talking like a regular Muslim. You get me? I don't get it, right? But may Allah guide him back. I mean, may Allah bring him back to Islam, you know? I mean, let's keep watching, y'all.
Shaun King believes something different. I see somebody in my comments here, one of my members, as a matter of fact, Venice Robinson. I'm stunned about Shaun's conversion to Islam. Now, she's saying, I think, because he used to be a pastor, but the idea of being stunned that he's a pastor, that he converted to Islam, shouldn't be so stunning. And I'll tell you why. Shaun King, for the last year, and certainly the last 6 months, last 5 months, has been inching closer and closer and sort of giving hints that he may be converted. I saw it 2 months ago. I saw it 3 months ago. And I said, Shaun is going to convert, or Shaun is going to revert. I use those words interchangeably. In the lexicon vocabulary of Islam, there is a fundamental belief that people are all born with an inclination toward monotheism.
This is so surreal. Like, I'm sorry to say it. I'm not really sorry to say it. Like, it's like surreal. Like, Mark, what are you doing? Like, why are you not Muslim? I'm not understanding this. You are literally making dawah to your audience to Islam, and you're not Muslim. Like, what? Like, it's press number 1 if you agree with me, and press number 2 if you think, no, I'm tripping. Number 1's in the chat if you're saying, yeah, he's actually making dawah, and it's just kind of surreal. And number 2 in the chat if you think, no, Bilal, you're tripping. You're reading too much into us, right? I want to see if I'm tripping, all right? Go ahead and press number 1 if you say, yeah, he's actually making dawah, right? I don't understand why he's not Muslim. Or number 2 in the chat, no, Bilal, you're tripping. You're reading too much into it. I want to see what y'all think. Let's keep watching, y'all.
Human nature. To put more simply, some Muslims would simply say to be Muslim is your natural state. And so when you become a Muslim later in life, you are not converting, you are reverting, you're going back to your natural self. Some of that is based on this idea that comes up in Islamic extra-canonical literature, this the hadith, as fitra, right? The natural inclination toward monotheism. But in a broader sense, Muslims believe that Muslims were born Muslim, or everyone's created and born Muslim, not in terms of doctrine and ritual and practice, but in terms of a fundamental belief in tawheed or oneness or monotheism. And because of that, a lot of times you'll hear people say he reverted to Islam or converted to Islam. I don't want you to think that when people say he reverted to Islam, that it's either used pejoratively, like he reverted to his old ways, like negatively, or that it means that he was a practicing active Muslim before. He was not. So the language of reverting is a very it's a very specific way of thinking and framing this. Nadia Montalvo points out something that I was about to get to. Thank you for saying it, Nadia Montalvo. Thank you for your generosity. And that is, Shaun said months ago that not since he was a child and visited the mosque on Fridays did he feel so inclined to Islam. The question is, why did he feel so inclined to Islam? Well, there are a couple of things.
Man, I still think this is very surreal, right? Because again, Mark Lamont Hill. If somebody, one of y'all tag Mark Lamont Hill in this live as well, man. So one of y'all tag him, inshallah, right? But I want to know, number 1, Mark Lamont Hill, is he making da'wah as a non-Muslim? He should just become Muslim. I know what he's doing. Or number 2, no, Bilal, you're tripping. He's just speaking like academically, right? You're reading way too much of what he's saying. Right, I want to know what y'all think. Okay, let's keep going, y'all.
One, Shaun King has been talking about Gaza for 5 months now. Shaun King has been talking about the Palestinian struggle for years. I mean, for months now. He's talked about it in the past, but since October 7th, he's been talking about it in a very intense way. And one of the things that Shaun had said on his social media platform, especially I believe Instagram before it was taken down, is that he was moved by how Muslims, and specifically how Palestinians, and of course all Palestinians aren't Muslim, but how Muslims and how Palestinian Muslims were using faith as a way of dealing with the genocide that's taking place in the Gaza Strip. And so for him, I think there was a sense of power and possibility in in Islam for him because he was watching something happen in Gaza. He was watching something happen in the West Bank. And when he traveled around the world advocating for Palestinians, and he's been speaking it to Muslims around the world lately. I remember I spoke at a CARE event maybe in 2018, 2019. I was accepting an award, the Malcolm X Award, and Shaun was there. Shaun wasn't there as a Muslim, but Shaun certainly felt connected to Islam, and he talked about feeling connected to Muslims then. And I think now part of what you're witnessing, part of what you're feeling, part of what you're experiencing is him seeing a tie. Now, I know some of y'all are reading this cynically. I didn't mean to leave that comment up so long. I wasn't being shady. I just forgot it was up. Some of y'all are reading this cynically.
Family, can you hear me? Sorry, man. I pressed the refresh button by accident, man. I told y'all every single time you watch the features, y'all gonna get some technical difficulty thing, man. That's a staple feature of the features. Okay, something gotta go wrong at least once. So that's our first thing going wrong at least once tonight, y'all. Okay. I'm sorry, y'all, man. Oh man. I am so dusty. Okay, let's keep watching, y'all.
Plenty of critiques made of me, plenty of critiques made of everybody. And if you want to make those critiques, make them. But I don't want to presume that standing up in front of a room after a lifetime of being a Christian, a lifetime of being a preacher, after a lifetime of devoting his life to the love ethic of Jesus as articulated by people like Howard Thurman, it's hard to believe that him standing in front of the world and saying that I no longer believe in Jesus as God. I no longer believe in the Trinity. I no longer believe this. I now believe something else. That I would not presume that anybody would do that. Becoming Muslim after October 7th doesn't make life easier for you. Even if you're a hustler and a grifter and a thief or a liar or whatever you want to think about anybody, people usually hustle to make their life easier, to make their life better, not to make their life tougher. Now, Bullet said that may be real, Mark, but doing it live on IG today is that's an interesting point. I don't know that he did it live on IG. I don't have that information yet, and so I don't want to make an assumption about why or what he did. I know that it wasn't on Shaun King's live stream. So is it that the masjid did this? Sometimes masjids just live stream stuff. I was at a masjid. I was at the Central Jersey Islamic Center, not this past Tuesday, but the Tuesday before. I didn't ask them to live stream it, but they did. I came in, I spoke. They paused for prayer. They paused for prayer. Everyone stopped. People made salat, and then people kept going. So if someone was there and took shahada, it would have been on video. If someone were there praying Maghrib, it would have been there. Now, I feel you. There is something performative and demonstrative about saying, you know what, I'm going to, on the night before Ramadan, stand on live stream and convert to Islam. That would be problematic. Let me take that back. That would be curious. But I don't want to assume that's what he did because I just don't know. I don't have the evidence. We have the evidence, say it. But for now, I don't want to question anybody's faith choices. I didn't open this live up to question Shaun's faith choices, but more to think about what's the context in which people might make these choices or receive these choices. Thomas Breeze raises an
He's really advocating very positively.
question. Did Ben Chavis do this too? It was NOI, but still, Islamic State this in the Nation of Islam. Y'all need to chill with that.
The Shaun King's conversion.
Seriously, but Thomas, you raise a point. Like Benjamin Chavis was the head of the NAACP.
He's advocating so like powerfully for Shaun King's conversion. And I'm like, if you didn't know that Mark Lamont Hill wasn't Muslim, speaking the way he is right now, would you believe that he wasn't Muslim? Yes or no? Just the way that he's talking, right? Would any of you believe that Mark Lamont Hill wasn't Muslim if you didn't actually know that he wasn't Muslim? Yes or no? You feel me? I mean, this is so surreal, man. But anyway, let's keep watching. We'll try to finish this up. If nobody wants to hop on, we're gonna finish this up real quick.
ACP. He was a civil rights leader. He was once incarcerated for his activism, or he became an intellectual while incarcerated and became an activist. However you think about it, he was a thinker, he was an organizer, he was a writer, he was a scholar, he was a hero to many. Then he was embroiled in scandal. And the cynical interpretation of Ben Chavis was, yeah, well, Ben Chavis, after he could no longer be a rich, wealthy, significant, visible Black leader as Reverend Benjamin Chavis, yes, he went to the Nation of Islam. He joined and became the minister of Mosque number 7, Malcolm's old mosque. And he became Benjamin Muhammad. And then there was a point where Ben said that he wanted to still be able to run his church. No, he didn't. I'll take that back. He said he still wanted to be a member of his Baptist convention. He said, I don't see any contradiction between being a member of this Baptist convention and being a minister in the nation. Now, of course, that's not true. There's a fundamental difference in Aqidah. There's a fundamental belief difference between being a Muslim in the Nation of Islam, or an Ansar, or a Sunni, or a Shia, or an Ahmadiyya, or any kind of Muslim, and being any kind of Christian. There's a fundamental belief system difference. But Benjamin tried it. And then Benjamin eventually slowly petered out of the Nation of Islam. And I know why, but that ain't my business to tell. I got it from the source. But that ain't my business to tell. But my point is, and he slowly went back to Benjamin Chavis again. He started working with Russell Simmons, trash again. And so for Ben Chavis, yes, the conversion or reversion was a cynical choice. It wasn't about faith. It wasn't that he had a religious conversion. He just was trying to stay in front of the line. So I get that there's a precedent for this. I get that there's a precedent.
Yeah, he's really advocating for Muslims really, really hard here. You know what I mean? Like, he's advocating for Muslims very hard, but it's just kind of surreal watching this, man, because he knows what he's talking about and he's still not Muslim. Like, it's kind of strange. And if you ever heard his logic behind why he's not Muslim, it's kind of like one of those very weak type of arguments. You know what I mean? Like what you call it? Dr. Omar, right? Omar Johnson, right? It's kind of a weakish argument. You're not going to be Muslim because too many errors. Like, for educated person like you, that's like kind of like a weak excuse. I could understand like somebody who's like maybe not educated or whatnot, but you know, Allah. Okay, family. I don't want to keep you all too long. I mean, this live is like it's I think it's appropriate for the first night of Ramadan, something like this, because it's like amazing news. It's astonishing news, really, right? And over here, you see the comments here. Actually, let's keep going because I want to see what he says about Shaun King's conversion as a hustle. Like, why would Shaun King is not Andrew Tate? You know what I'm saying? Like, they're two totally different people. Shaun King doesn't need clout or anything like that. He's an activist. He's not looking for clout. Anyways, let's see what he got to say about this. 1 second, y'all. Why is this thing doing this?
For this. But for every Benjamin Chavis or Benjamin Muhammad, there are literally thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people every single day who simply convert. Go follow any masjid in the country. Follow Masjid Allah here in Philadelphia. Shout out to Imam Idris. Go to Masjid Taqwa in Brooklyn, Siraj Wahaj. Just follow one of those. I'm just telling you two that I follow, right? And see how many people every single day take their shahada just like Shaun did. And they're also on Instagram. And they're also on YouTube. Let me tell you something. Again, I'm not making any judgments about Shaun's faith at all. It's not my business. But most people who are trying to take the short line, who are trying to take the easy way out, they don't take their shahada the night before Ramadan. They don't take their shahada the night before Ramadan. Ramadan ain't no joke.
He's right there as well. He's right there as well. You have to be very serious if you're going to take your shahada the night before Ramadan, right? So, and the black man, he made a very pertinent point. Omar Ngoa Johnson just wants to be able to fornicate and drink. That's all. I believe that, you know what I mean? I think that's really what's preventing. Like, there's a lot of people who have a lot of vices, and that really prevents them from becoming Muslim. And this again is from the color of Allah, right? Because even if you have vices, like every human being is going to have a vice, but it's rather the discipline and the self control to stay away from the vices, right? So what you're really saying is that I don't have the self control to stay away from my vices, so I'm just not going to follow Islam because I want to, I want to do this deed. You get me? I'm not even going to try. So now I have to make this excuse for myself. I'm not going to speak against Islam directly, but I'm going to say this is my excuse why I haven't converted, right? And Allahu Alam, why Lamont Hill? I don't get it, but he's such a strong advocate for Islam and the Muslims and everything like that. Look what he's saying. He's saying, for every one person who converts for a hustle, whatever, there's hundreds of thousands who convert every single day, which is true, right, to Islam, and they're not trying to hustle anybody, right? And the proof is in the pudding. You find thousands and thousands of convert stories, new convert stories every single day, all over the internet, on every single platform. You get me? We don't need any celebrities to convert to Islam. Islam is in no need of that. The religion is not in need of high profile people to convert, because people will convert regardless. You get me? Allah guides who He pleases, and He sets straight who He pleases. But I don't want to keep y'all too late, family. I want to go to sleep early because I want to wake up early. Right? I don't think anybody joined me tonight, but like, subscribe, share, hit me up on Patreon, and I'm pretty sure I'm gonna see y'all tomorrow, inshallah. Okay? So, alhamdulillah, wassalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.